Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan.
We about to show you.
Oh man, was this a good movie?
Yeah.
Before we get into it, for those of you who are interested, you know all the platforms to look for us on. I'm going to try to do this at the beginning so I don't have to worry about it all at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Give us a like, subscribe on all the platforms you can. Get in touch with us. You know how to find us.
Right.
We are The Aftermath. You can
The
look,
same old spiel.
you know how it is. You can go into YouTube and type in @Hindsight Studios and find us there. And you can find all the podcasts there. I'm trying to get Ethan to come back around to do some more About Nothing stuff and to come on some episodes here, but he's obviously, been a bit busy.
Right.
So anyways, just stay tuned. We appreciate your support. We love you guys. And man, was
Get
this
ready.
dude, this was such a great movie.
Yeah, dude. It is one of the epitomes I would consider of psychological horror and like sci-fi deep space horror.
Right.
Because, man, it hits all the marks for me.
We watched a movie called Event Horizon,
Mm-hmm.
which I think I've seen like clips of like certain big sequences of.
Mm-hmm.
But to be honest, I don't think I've been spoiled to anything of what this movie was really about.
Good.
And man, was this a treasure.
Mm-hmm.
This movie came out in 1997. And before we really get into the meat of what this movie is, this is going to sound very pretentious of me,
Oh.
but I just feel like they don't make movies like they used to.
Yeah.
Some modern movies are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to sound like I'm not grateful for some of the great modern marvels that are like, these great movies.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to have a geriatric view on this kind of stuff whenever what feels like everything from back then is like touted as these holy grails of cinema.
Yeah.
But I mean, for every one of those, there was God knows how many like dog shits.
100%.
Like, I mean, it's been the same for the past like few decades.
Right, but I think whenever I
it's like it's a world of difference.
Whenever I say that, I mean that in like a sense of like set design and props,
Mm-hmm.
cost like the world of something, and the fact that this feels so uniquely its own thing and not part of a franchise. Like from when that phrase that I just said about how they don't make movies like they used to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like if you take away these like $300-400 million projects that are part of these massive franchises, you like take those out the picture.
Mm-hmm.
You take out the budget just isn't there for like these like middle ground interesting movies to like take risks on. I feel like that's kind of what I'm talking about, is like things like that of like this movie is not part of a franchise. At least I don't think so.
No.
Has a bunch of big name actors in it. It's a cool concept, and it's a sci-fi thriller to the core, psychological horror stuff, and it's just like, and it's done so well.
Oh yeah.
There's a couple of things that make it feel dated, but that I think is because of like looking back retrospectively on that movie.
Namely the CG.
The CG is a bit, but I don't think it was. I think they used it where it was needed.
Right. It felt like with some of the shots, this was a 3D film.
Oh, right, 100%. And in 1997 probably was.
Right, definitely something you'd wear glasses for.
And again, like I said, there are some signs of the times. But what I'm talking about is everything else. Mm-hmm. The atmosphere, the costumes, the makeup, the sound, just everything else that really just like puts you in this universe.
It's all fucking tens.
The dialogue, the kind of banter between these characters, like it's all these things that just like flush it out, and you're like, man. And then then this is where I kind of gets pretentious for me. Mm-hmm. Is like, and then on top of that, it's also, I could be wrong. If it was filmed digitally, I don't think it was filmed a lot. Or maybe I'm wrong, but it just had that kind of that 90s film aesthetic.
Oh, just like that grainy effect.
Or
to
yeah,
it? Yeah.
And like I could be wrong. And they could have done it digitally. No, I mean, as well. But it has a vibe about it.
Mm-hmm.
And anyways, I digress.
Right.
What I'm saying is I've watched a couple of movies that probably are on that level, but again, they're like multi-$100 million projects, usually from a franchise, and it's a sequel to something. Or heaven forbid, it's like a recreation of something.
Oh God!
And it's like and so like what I'm talking about is like that kind of stuff where I'm like I sat down and really didn't know what I was going to be getting myself into.
It does feel like there's less experimentation and like originality,
right. And that's what I guess that's what I meant.
At?
Yeah, that's what I think I meant by that phrase. So whenever I say that, like I could, and I'm not to say that those films don't exist.
Right. I think we could just not be looking in the right places.
You're probably
just haven't found these diamonds in the rough.
Right. And that may be just because I'm not in the sphere. I know that, like, for instance, people usually talk highly of A.254, which is a big studio that I think for me at least, has made movies like that are kind of unique and different. So I'm not saying that's not the case.
Right.
But
we're not the old men on the porch, we promise.
But man, but I must say, I watched this and was like, I haven't seen something recently that was this unique, not part of a franchise, and was so locked in with this atmosphere.
Yeah, dude.
It was so good. It had me hooked.
Oh, yeah.
From the very beginning, it was just, it gave me feelings, and you said this before, it gave me feelings of the first Alien. There's a lot of these things that if all the ship parts.
In space, no one can hear you scream type beat.
Yeah. Type shit. Oh, man. There were so many wonderful little bits in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And I feel like this warrants a second viewing because of all the stuff I know I missed. Wow.
Yeah.
I just can't get enough.
Yeah, dude. Now, it has been a while since I've seen this film.
Yeah.
I got the 4K release of it like almost 2 years ago.
Okay.
And I knew it was similar and that it had taken inspiration from this movie.
Yeah.
But I had no idea how like almost the same this and Dead Space are.
Really?
Yeah. Comparatively. Because I mean Dead Space is still like this amalgamate of what I would say Event Horizon and John Carpenter's The Thing.
Okay.
It takes the psychological horror from Event Horizon and mixes it with the body horror like alien freakiness of The Thing. And it is the most nightmarish combination I can think of.
Dude.
But man, it's phenomenal.
The more I sit here and try and recollect on what I just watched, the pacing of the story, and I may be overhyping this, but I think it's mostly, if I am overhyping it, it's not as good as I'm saying that it is. It's solely because of all the external factors.
Oh yeah.
Of, like I said, the costume, the space suits, the uniforms, the
ship design,
the ship's hull, and how it all feels so like it's not on like a set or whatever. All of it. Yeah. I'm
perfect storm.
I'm floored. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I want to get to some. I'm trying to hold myself back because I want to talk about some specifics, but I want to get there whenever we get there.
Yeah.
But like the beginning of this film, we're following this doctor guy,
Dr. Weir.
Dr. Weir.
I call him Weird.
Yeah, Dr. Weird is for sure.
Dr. Freaky.
And he's already like we get some title cards as well that like there's some, throughout the past like 30 or so decades,
puts together a timeline.
Yeah, of like expansion and colonization in space and things like that, and all that kind of stuff. And
we get to the disappearance of the deep space exploration ship Event Horizon.
Right. We don't get a whole lot of details in this title card, except for the fact that it says like it was one of the greatest losses, like the greatest space exploration lost as of that date or whatever.
Right.
And it's like, okay, so this is a pretty big deal.
Right.
And we get to this Dr. Weir character, And if I'm not mistaken, he wakes up and he looks at these pictures of this lady.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're like, okay, it's probably his wife. And he's like, I miss you so much. And of
I've
course,
been so lonely.
Right. And so for me, I immediately thought that, my God, I just had flashbacks. I'm sorry. I just got mentally locked in again.
Yeah.
I immediately thought that he has been in space on some sort of space station for a long time and then potentially has not seen her in some extensive amount of time.
Right.
That's what it seems like. He has all these pictures of her. It kind of has like a little, I don't want to say shrine, but it's like this little memorial, like this little bedside table full of all these like pictures of her and him together, that kind of stuff.
Right.
And oh man, and then he's being am I mistaken? And then like he's getting onto the ship at this point, like we're kind of meeting the rest of the crew at this point of the ship.
Right. He's transferred to the Lewis and Clark rescue ship, and that's when we get introduced to all the crew members.
Okay, that's good. I'm a bit shaken up just because of all the stuff that happened.
Right. Yeah,
so I'm having a bit of a hard time because I'm trying to relive all the happy-go-lucky parts before things got real serious.
Right.
And I'm like, shit, I'm kind of messed up.
Right. I feel like we could almost just bypass the synopsis in this point and just talk about what we like.
Right. And I'm totally about it. But but the reason I want to say that is there are some dialogue moments in this part that I was leading up to.
Mm-hmm.
We got a new guy by this doctor character. He has a different. They're getting ready for this like stasis moment, and everyone's kind of getting ready, and they're all kind of like goofing around and talking, but not really towards him, so it kind of feels a little bit awkward. So for me, again, my immediate thought was like maybe he's just a new guy who knows what's going on. They end up getting in stasis, everything's all fine. He ends up waking up, and in this moment,
the nightmare.
Yeah, he has like this nightmare where like his pod gets drained. And he's by himself.
Right. Nobody else has woken up.
Yeah.
And he's just wandering about the ship
alone. And it's like, okay, like, so it's, and again, I will say this right here at the top. This movie does suspense well.
Masterclass in tension building.
There's a couple of jump scares, but I don't think they were low-hanging fruit or cheap shots.
Right.
I mean, maybe a couple times, but again, I thought it was all relevant to what's going on.
Nothing you'd get upset at.
Right. Again, nothing. Like I said, no cheap shots. There's a couple of times where that happens. You're like, okay.
You motherfucker.
Yeah, you got, you got me. I jumped. Right. It wasn't like that. So I'm saying all that because, again, he's on the bridge, and there's a woman. And
just sitting in the chair.
And of the two women I saw,
that are looks like neither one of them.
Right. That I saw from the crew prior.
Peters and Stark.
Right. This looks like a different one. And you're like,
who the fuck
what is this? And then in the reflection of the monitor, you see she doesn't have eyes. And you're like, bitch, what the hell what is happening? He turns it around and like, I forgot what she says, but she says something. And then he ends up like waking up again. But this time, and he's back in the tank, but his respirator mask isn't on, so he's kind of panicking. And of course, the crew gets him out. And of course, he's like, whatever. Right. And then of course they're like, "Hey, buddy, you've been,
are you good, Chief?
Yeah. Well, you've been in stasis for like 72 hours, like, or however long it's been." He's like, "So," which, may I say, I want to say that in that moment they said 72 hours.
56 days.
50. Maybe I'm wrong. 56 days. You're probably right. I could have swore that was. I said this is probably where it warrants a second viewing because I thought there was a callback that happens later in the film that was correlating all that. But don't mind me.
Okay.
Again, I'm still tripping. Right. So at this point now you're like, okay, so we're in an inception moment, or are we in a dream inside of a dream, or what's happening? Right. So you're like, okay, so
is this real?
Yeah.
Are you real?
Are you real? Please help me. So you're like, okay, so the first thing was a dream. Now we're in reality. Right. Okay. And it just is a little. I love it because it's just a little. It just dips your toe in to what is to come.
Here's a little peek of what I got.
Here's a little peek as to what we're getting into. We got some psychological stuff. We got some some terrifying stuff right off the bat that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
But trust me, it paints a bigger picture.
Right.
And now, having watched the whole movie, I'm like, what a great little taste
mm-hmm.
right at the beginning. Because I thought he just had trauma. I thought he had trauma, and I thought he's going out to space, and I thought he was just. Again, at this point is when I started to think, it was like, maybe something happened to her, maybe she lost her sight, or maybe, you start to like. I started to. To
something's going on with this.
Something's going on with the lady and him, and he feels guilty about leaving her.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows what's going on?
Right.
So that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is the part I was talking about, where now all the crew's together, everyone's dressed up.
Right.
Everyone's got
together a briefing.
Right.
Because they don't know why they're out here.
Yeah. They're all the best of the best.
Right.
Oh God!
Oh, Jesus! Turn the lights back up! Oh my God! See, I told you.
I thought you were joking.
I warned you.
You're right.
No, I'm a man of my word.
You're right.
Ian's got the automatic lighting set up with these hue bulbs.
Yes.
He set it to a later time.
Yeah.
Just to coincide with our later than usual schedule.
Yes.
And I told him, as soon as those lights go off, I'm going to scream.
And sure enough, here we are 15 minutes in, just when I thought it would.
Yeah,
and here we are.
Hello, Sam Neill.
Don't do that. That's going to make me scared.
Anyway. Dr. Weir
yes,
is prompted by Captain Miller
yes,
to politely explain the situation to the crew.
Right. Because at this point, how many was the crew? Besides the doctor.
Let's see, we got Miller,
Captain Miller,
Justin, Peters, Stark, Cooper, Smitty.
DJ?
Yes, and DJ.
Okay.
That's everybody.
So we had 6 plus the doctor,
mm-hmm.
which is 7.
Right.
I think, okay.
Oh.
I could be wrong. I'm tripping right now.
Oh, man, 6 plus 1 is 7.
Okay, good. So we're still in reality. We're still in reality. I'm not dreaming.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
Cool. If you looked at me dead ass, I was like, it's actually 5. I would have been like, shit, I'm out.
What are you talking about?
No. It can't be this way.
Man.
This is what I'm talking about. We're like, we got guys, and they're all like in kind of like, military-esque fatigues.
Right.
A couple of them have these like patches on their shoulders.
Sort of bits of flair here and there.
Some have more lines, some are gold, some are silver, like delineating some level of kind of rank or hierarchy. And this is what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The movie never pays any mind to that, but you can look at them all and you see that, like,
there's enough visual tell that you could guess.
Yeah. We got a couple guys over here that are a bit on edge, a bit different, but like, again, we're all specialists in our field.
Right.
No one else knows that we're on this ship going out here to do this.
Mm-hmm.
But you can also tell if they've been a crew together before. I feel like, and like so,
like a well-oiled machine.
They're like, one guy is like pulling out a cigarette and he's like flicking it over to the other guy, and like in this very natural moment where they're all talking and like kind of getting some things ready. Smitty tries to catch it and drops it, and then actively leans down out of his chair to pick up the cigarette off the ground and pops it in his mouth. I'm like, it's like, I mean, that probably was a legitimate accident that happened in the film, but it's like, it's all these like little things that make it feel so real in it. There's a moment where Captain Miller looks down at Peters to like ask a question, and she's like on this iPad kind of thing.
Right.
And
watching
it's like
old videos.
Right.
Home videos of her son.
Yeah, right.
That she had a custody dispute over with her ex.
Yeah. And the second he steps up to be like, hey, Peters, she like puts it down and is like very attentive as to like what you need, Captain, kind of like that kind of locking in. And he was like, I just want to let you know that like I try my best to find
a replacement custodian for your son, but couldn't do it.
It was impossible.
Yeah.
And she was like, hey,
is what it is.
Is what it is. And it's like, I knew this movie was going to do this. It was in that moment, the second they started to really humanize the characters and make them really nice. I was like, some of these bitches ain't making out of this alive.
This lady doesn't get to stay home with her son.
Something
bad's going to happen.
Bad's going to happen, dude. I was like, it got to that point where I was like, I don't know who's going to die, but some of these people ain't making it home. Some of these people ain't making it home. I've seen Alien a couple times to know that shit doesn't end well for everybody.
Yeah.
In deep space.
A well-established ragtag group of people.
Oh, gosh. All with their
going
unique
into
personality.
An unknown situation.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
A recipe for disaster.
They're all unique characters and fun, different individuals, and they all have funny banter with each other. No.
Right. Wait, this is a horror film.
Yeah. No! No, shit. They ain't making it home, Dad. They ain't making it home.
Yeah.
Yeah, so anyways, it's in these like little bit of banter between all these characters that makes it feel real, makes this world feel lived in and authentic, and I love that.
Yeah.
And then we get this briefing like Dylan was talking about.
Right. The doctor explains that the old report about the event horizon was falsified.
Right.
And that they received a distress signal, or what they could only describe as some kind of distress signal from the ship. So
I think he said that the public knows that the ship was supposed to be going off, and I think it had some sort of major explosion. So I think so what all the crew members thought and the public thought, I think they were saying that like it had like some sort of catastrophic explosion.
It was going to warp, and then it just fucking disappeared.
Right. Well,
assumed lost with all hands.
Okay. Well, I think that's what he was saying. Like at a certain point in time, he's like, that's what everyone thought, but the truth is that it was actually, it warped and it was lost, and we don't know where it went. We just assumed it was gone, but now it's come back around Neptune.
Right.
And yikes.
Yeah. The current mission objective is to recover the crew and salvage whatever's left of the ship, if at all possible. Now, whenever he plays this signal that they receive, it is
haunting,
assorted screaming, with a bit of garbled dialogue in there that they can barely make out.
At first, I didn't hear the dialogue at all. I just heard the
screams of the damned.
Wow.
Yeah.
What an apt term.
Yeah, so one of the crew members, I believe it's DJ, is able to make out what sounds like Latin.
Yeah.
And he translates it roughly.
Right. He's
quote,
like,
unquote.
Yeah, he's like,
roughly to save me.
Yeah.
So, of course, it's like, oh, okay, cool. That's what we're here to do anyway.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't be too optimistic after hearing that.
No.
I don't want to. Bye.
Yeah. No.
Bye
no.
forever.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'm leaving you to your fate. If I hear nothing but screaming amidst that, then no. Yeah, wouldn't.
What a slippery slope.
Yeah. So they go there.
Yeah, of course.
Anyway, and just barely avoid crashing into the ship.
Yeah.
It's just hanging out in atmosphere above Neptune in the midst of a giant-ass storm.
Right.
And they're able to board it.
Yep.
As soon as they get aboard,
and it's
a fucking ghost ship.
Yep.
Nobody's around.
No life forms.
Right. Until they get to the bridge.
But didn't they say
Peters.
Didn't Stark say that like there's some sort of
they use a bioscanner on the ship itself, and the readings it gives her is that there's
it's all
just,
over.
Yeah, little patchy biosignatures all over the fucking ship, which doesn't make any sense, right?
Right.
So they get on the ship.
Yep.
Nobody's home. They can't find anybody.
Yep.
Just a bunch of debris.
Mm-hmm. We get some great shots because the power's not turned on fully yet. So we got like these great dark flashlight shots in spacesuits. Yep. There's no gravity, so like, so this is where the kind of the special effects we're talking about, the kind of the poor '90s,
right? The CG,
the shiny CG stuff, where it kind of looks a bit glossy and fake. Again, I for me, it didn't take me out.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of noticeable, but
it is what it is.
It's just I think it's charming.
Now, everything appears to be pretty rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Signs of struggle here and there. But man, as soon as they get to the bridge, they send Peters alone to the bridge.
Oh, God.
She sees a bloodstain on one of the terminals.
Yep.
as she's going through trying to get the ship's logs all prepped and ready just to see what happened, there is a corpse. Just
well, before that, may I say that as she continues to move forward in her direction facing from that stain, the camera cuts kind of to her left, so she is now exiting screen left.
Yeah,
and there's like this
the flickering lights in the background, and you see part of the wall is just covered. In like blood and viscera.
Yeah. And I thought I saw a skull fixed to the wall or something. And I was like, bro, what? And so she didn't see it, like looking forward with her one little flashlight. It just flashed.
Yeah.
So as a crew, as a viewing audience, we're like, oh, shit, hell no, dude. I'm sitting here like, nope. No.
Yeah, I'm out.
Something ain't right.
No, I'm getting back on the ship.
Yeah. Thank you. Love you guys.
I'm getting back in my stasis pod.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I don't wake up and we're still here.
If you don't mind, I'm going to go back to the ship. I'm going to go cry.
Right. Where there's no blood.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Where everyone's alive.
And we're not haunted.
Right. So
as he was saying, as Dylan was saying, there's a corpse floating around.
Yeah. And they get a good look at him. And at first they assume like depressurization.
Yeah.
Because I mean, what else could have happened? Right?
There's no pressure inside the hull, so it makes sense.
G's.
Right. So he's like floating around.
But they get a look at him and he's like, that ain't that's not from decompression. That's like a fucking
because he rolls over and we see his face.
Yeah, the mangled remains with like full of lacerations, like straight up chunks missing.
Right. And no eyes in the socket.
Yeah.
And so they're like, oh, shit, like that must be like a depressurization. And the doctor, DJ, no, sorry, not the Dr. Miller, DJ, the actual like medical professional on board, he's like, no, that ain't it. Decompression don't do that. And we're like, oh,
okay.
That's not cool.
What does that mean?
And so, and again, for me, this is the first time where we're seeing some correlation between a body with no eyes and presumed
with no eyes.
Yeah, Dr. Miller with no eyes. And I'm like, all right, so now the doctor...
Not a connection I was hoping to make.
For me, I was like, all right, I don't like where this is going.
Right.
Oh, and may I add, in that briefing we were talking about before, where they're all like talking about why they're out there, you know, they try to... the rest of the gang is trying to pressure Dr. Miller to be like, so you're saying that it could warp drive... What is warp drive? How can it happen? I think this is the only clip of the movie I've ever seen where he takes a magazine, folds it over, and then points a pin through it. I think a couple different sci-fi movies have kind of done the same concept for like wormhole, dimensional
folding
travel.
Space-time.
Right. But I believe I've seen this one specifically because I think I've seen, what's the actor's name?
Sam Neill.
Sam Neill. I think I've seen Sam Neill hold it up and go doop and like do that before. Right. So anyways, he's describing all this, and of course, one of them so snidely remarks, well, how do you know all this? And he's like, well, I built it. So at this point, after witnessing Lady at the Bridge moment, no eyes, the doctor Dr. Miller has built this thing.
This motherfucker was at ground zero for this thing.
Yeah. And then now we're seeing a body rolling around with no eyes. That's when I started thinking like, okay, so the doctor has to be in on something or he's hiding his hand.
Knows more than he's letting on.
Yeah. So at first he feels like our main character, but very quickly, Captain Miller becomes my favorite.
Lawrence Fishburne, man.
Dude, what a
Morpheus.
What a great actor, dude. I've always loved Lawrence Fishburne.
The man's fantastic.
And in this, he looks much younger. This is all I think before Matrix, I believe. Matrix was all like later.
I want to say it came out later, yeah.
Yeah, a couple years later, I think. Or early 2000s, I think, was when the first one came out. I don't remember. But we got ourselves a young Lawrence Fishburne here as this captain, and man, I love a good ragtag team of specialists that come together, and a no nonsense captain who cares about his team. Love it.
Delta Squad from Republic Commando, dude.
Come on.
That's the cream of the crop for me.
Even 8th MS team, from what I remember a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
It is a trope, and it is a trope I love. Even we've talked about Alien. Alien is the same way.
The crew of the Nostromo, dude. Bunch of space truckers.
Yep.
Oh,
that's
God.
what I'm talking about. I love it. And this is no different.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, sorry to kind of jump ahead to what we're talking about. In this moment, we're like, I'm thinking, okay, so I think that there's a little bit more at play between what this ship can do and what's happening. Right. I thought that it all had to do with, the fact that it could warp the dimensions and maybe it does something where, like, I don't know. I'm just speculating at this point.
Right. Yeah.
Watching it. And so what happens directly after this? Is this where they all get on the ship and kind of like turn the system on?
Right. They all start exploring, figuring out what happened.
Yeah.
Justin, little baby bear.
Yeah, our young
the first
boy.
one to make it to the gravity core.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That motherfucker opens up, and he just.
I mean, I can't blame him. He's curious.
He may have been under the influence of the damn thing, but he just sticks his hand into the amorphous, like, black liquid portal that this core has opened up, and something pulls him in.
Yep. And he's fully engulfed. Mm-hmm. But each one of these team members has a tether back to the Clark, the main ship.
Right. And as soon as Cooper, the rescue specialist, sees that go off, he's like, all right, I'm going in. And he just starts following the tether. He sees the core, like, open.
Yeah.
And Justin's core
he sees the tether going inside the black goop liquid, and you're like, oh shit.
And as he gets closer, Justin, like, just comes out, like, incapacitated, passed out.
Floating out.
Yeah. And after that, they restore gravity systems. Everything starts coming back online.
Yeah.
Now, after that point, they get a little debrief about what the hell just happened.
Yeah.
Cooper explains what he saw. And the doctor ain't having none of it.
Nah.
It's like, man, that just ain't possible. You must have hallucinated, or you got to be delusional or some shit.
Yeah.
And Cooper's like,
I ain't delusional, man. I saw what I saw.
Were you there?
Yeah.
You didn't see what I saw. But man, as soon, oh God, dude, don't even get me started on the med bay.
Gosh, dude.
It is the scariest place in this whole ship to me.
Oh my gosh, dude. Mm-hmm. There, just to kind of jump ahead as to what's going on.
Yeah.
As they're trying to, like, understand and piece together what's happening. In that moment where the force field gets opened up. Mm-hmm. And all that kind of stuff. There's, like, a big shock wave that happens.
Oh yeah,
and it, like,
reverberates throughout the ship.
Right, and it busts a hole in the hull of the Clark. I could tell
a holy hole.
Before I even said it, I was like, the hole.
It's like, I'm gonna have trouble.
Yeah,
with this.
Here we go.
Lock in.
Lock in. I gotta do this.
Phonetics is easy. I can do it.
I can speak my own native language.
Right.
So anyways, the problem is they have to then depressurize the Clark because the fact that it's got a big gash in the hull.
They're losing atmosphere.
Right. And so now they're all inside the event horizon.
Mm-hmm. The last place you want to be.
And may I say, there's this beautiful, they enter in, how do you describe this? There's, like, a main portion at the front, and it's a big ship that has, like, the bridge, and it has all the other stuff, the med bay, all these other things. And then there's this long tube, this long, like, catwalk area that goes
the main corridor. Yeah.
Right, the main corridor goes all the way down. It's a long, straight tube, very thin, and it goes to this other, like, big part at the back.
Right, where the core and engineering is.
Correct. So the Clark that they came in on is, like, affixed to the side of that long corridor area. So, like, they all get on board. And the kind of Chekhov's gun in this movie is the bombs that line
the emergency explosives
that line the corridor. That, like, in case of an emergency, all that can be exploded.
You scuttle the back half and use the front portion as a lifeboat.
Exactly. So they're all now in the front portion of the event horizon going, hey, how long we got?
Right.
And they're like, we got like 20 hours until the air in here becomes unbreathable. So like
we're on a time crunch.
Yeah.
Gotta figure out what's wrong, fix it, and then get the hell out of here.
So that's like the main part of this. That's like the main driving force of this kind of like second act of this film. And man, this one, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's just like one thing after the next, and it was constantly suspenseful.
Everybody gets their own flavor of scare.
Yeah, of course. And then we start getting what I can only describe as haunted.
Right, a poltergeist.
Yeah.
Of sorts.
There are a couple of the crew members that are experiencing people from their lives back home or struggles that they're going through or something.
Right. Traumatic events from their past or what have you.
Yes.
Issues they're currently grappling with.
Right.
Peters, for instance.
Yes.
Sees her son.
And not
one of these little med bay
not just sees her son, but is like actively doing and monitoring Justin that just came back and is still incapacitated.
Catatonic for all intents and purposes.
And then we hear this kind of like what I thought was like someone like someone sneezed or like it's kind of this like kind of sound, but I thought it was like a distant person like sniffling or sneezing or something.
We look over, and on one of the med tables, covered with a tarp, we see a silhouette of a hand just running itself across the tarp. And I'm like, fuck off, I'm out of there. See you later, Justin. You can have fun with whatever the fuck is behind that cover.
Because at this point in time, there is nobody else in the med bay.
She even checks comms beforehand. It's like, DJ, where are you?
Yep.
Like I'm on
the bridge.
Subject 4. And
so he's not in there with her.
Yeah.
Justin's catatonic. And now there's like motion on this other table that is not supposed to have anybody
Something
else
is in there with you.
Hell no.
I'm going to be out of there momentarily.
She pulls the tarp off and it's her son sitting up, legs straight out in front of him. And it's very real.
Oh, yeah.
Very real to her.
Decay.
There's like open wounds on his legs, and they're all infected.
Yeah.
It's nasty.
Now, before this progresses any further, DJ comes up behind her and is like, hey,
what up?
The fuck's going on? What's wrong?
And this is like kind of those like jump scares I'm talking about. He then like puts a hand on her shoulder and she like and like turns around and then snaps back and the boy's gone. And so now she's like, and of course even we're like that. We're like, what's happening? Oh my God, where am I?
Meanwhile, Dr. Weir and Captain Miller are at the core.
Yeah.
After some of the power systems start to fluctuate and go offline. So they open up one of the emergency hatches to access what looks like just a crawl space made of motherboards.
Yeah.
And they just find like a fuse box in there.
Dylan joked around and said it was the green room as he's like crawling around, and I was like, the green room. It's like, where's my refreshments? He's like, what?
No refreshments, only green.
Yeah, right. And of course, in this moment, there's a panel that's like sparking and smoking, and he kind of crawls his way over to it. I made a joke. I was like, "It's just a fuse box." And, then he proceeds to pull out like almost like it was like a folder, like a file cabinet or whatever. He pulls it out and looks like a motherboard. And so I said at that point, I was like, "Oh no, he just needs it's a new motherboard." Is what he needs.
Yeah.
And then at that point, I also made the joke as well. It's like, he's.
I know what the problem is. He's running low on disk space.
He's over here.
A fucking new hard drive in that shit.
He's tinkered on it. I was like, shit, he needs new RAM.
Right.
But
dude.
There's a moment where we said this that all the lights start to shift off. And
oh god,
and
it's my least favorite moment, dude.
And it shifts from like the left side to the right side towards him.
Yeah,
and then
the darkness encroaches.
All the green, and again, he's in these like crawl spaces, like they're ventilation vents or whatever.
Yeah,
covered in
claustrophobic type shit.
Covered in green. They all start to shut off.
Yeah,
and
no.
It's already kind of scary. But then he hears a whisper. and then the lights come back on, and he's like looking around, and the lights cut back off again. He has
a whole fucking episode. He just starts like fucking panicking and like running through these like different little areas.
But the corridors shut off for a second time, and then because of our sound system, we have a little bit of surround sound, and like there is a whisper that sounds like it is just over his shoulder, like kind of towards our left, of like his wife saying his name, and the lights cut back on,
and she's there,
and
like right up in his face.
Oh my god, I hate it.
Yeah, no, I'm love done. I'm getting the fuck out of there.
I love it, and I hate it.
Yeah.
So. And what I thought was kind of a funny section is like the camera from our perspective is looking outside the entryway from the green tunnels, and so Captain Miller's looking inside at us.
Like, you good in there, bro? What's going on?
And I just said, "Hell no! Help me! Help me, please!
My dead wife!"
and then in a crazy turn of events, Captain Miller turns around, and then out of the coolant pool arises
like the Lady of the Lake.
Yeah, arises a body. And then lights
the cadaver of the creek. Dude.
Beautiful. I mean, literally, and then proceeds to ignite on fire.
Right, the man on fire.
And then he obviously, justifiably, he starts to panic and like it's
just
like crawling
out. Yeah.
He's like crawling up the side of like this kind of like spherical corridor. And he's like, hey.
Right. And after that, I believe we cut to another meeting of the minds.
Yeah.
The very damaged minds now.
Oh yeah, I love the phrase that Captain Miller says. There's a point where like everyone's trying to kind of justify what's going on, and no one at this point has all corroborated together that they've had anomalies, encounters, whatever you want to call them.
Right.
But there's a point in time where like
Peter starts telling everyone that she saw her son in the med bay.
And she was like, and it felt very real. And of course, Dr. What's his name again? Holy shit.
Dr. Weir.
Dr. Weir. Weir.
Right.
He's like, it's probably just
stonewalling.
Yeah. He's pushing back. He protests too much.
Right.
Where it's like,
methinks.
Okay, buddy.
Right.
But there's a moment.
Just a little crazy is all.
But there's a moment where Captain Miller says something that's very interesting in my mind, and I liked the dialogue of. He's like, I know what I saw. I felt the heat. There was fire. I know what I experienced.
That was real.
That was real. And it's like, okay, the second he said that, I'm like, okay, so we're not just dealing with like some like paranormal shit, some ghost stuff.
Right.
We're dealing with some like potentially physical,
cosmic forces.
Yeah.
The likes of which humanity has never encountered and should never encounter.
And so at this point, where like again, they're all starting to kind of like corroborate what their stories are, and and some people are having different feelings. And
at that point, I'm like, all right, we're done.
We're definitely
we're getting out of here. This is not the place to be.
Yeah, we've been done.
Mission's over. We tried our best.
We're aborting a second time.
Take the data and get the fuck out,
please.
It ain't happening, bro.
And I don't remember exactly when it was, and I thought this was very funny because they say it. I don't remember when it was in the film, but I joked with Dylan, and I said the words because they were saying, well, I think it was towards the beginning of the movie, whenever they were talking about, well, where did they go?
Right. Where's it been for the past 7 years?
Right. And of course, he keeps saying, like, I don't know, all that kind of stuff. And I made the snide remark, because I've been learning more about this lore. I was like, I believe where they went is called the Webway.
Right.
And it is
but a warp.
Yeah. I think they went into a warp zone. I think they experienced, and these are the words I said specifically. I said, I think they went into chaos itself.
Right.
As a joke.
Had an encounter of one of the 4 gods.
Yeah, right. One of the chaos gods of Warhammer 40K and the like.
Yeah.
For those at home who don't know what I'm talking about. So I was, again, just a very brief, very layman's terms, in the Warhammer 40K universe, if you want to warp travel, you have to kind of go into a different dimension,
right? A hell dimension,
full
of demons.
That's kind of on top of our dimension or whatever, and travel through that dimension to get to your other location, and then in doing that, there is a high probability of demonic chaos interference
right.
that could straight up keep you there in that chaos
Mm-hmm.
realm, could kill you.
Oh yeah,
in transit.
You don't know what's going to happen.
The
possibilities are endless.
The horrors are unimaginable and ever growing.
Based on this particular style of corruption, I'd say it's a bit of Slanesh in there.
Oh yeah,
lots of.
I could also hear corn. There's a lot of blood, a lot of pain.
Plenty. Yeah,
a lot of torture.
Jesus.
And hey, maybe even a couple skulls.
Right.
So, anyways, just to say that I made that joke because again, in the Warhammer world, there's this kind of webway that you can that is specific to one of the factions where it's like a more safer version of that.
Right.
So that my joke was that they just opened up their own little they own a little traffic lane through the hell dimension,
meddled in the worst freeway imaginable.
Yeah. We just had a little Doom.
Yeah.
We just had a little Doom action. We just, opened the portal.
Right.
Tiptoe our way in. So again, that was all a joke. I legitimately made that as a joke because I still thought this was some sort of crazy alien virus,
right?
Some sort of like again at this point,
space madness,
right? I thought there was still, because again we saw that body that we saw originally that was the quote unquote corpsicle.
Yeah.
Whenever the gravity got hit back on, it falls down and just shatters
to pieces.
So again, in my mind, I'm still like in alien mode,
right?
Where I'm like, they went through some sort of cosmic rift.
Something came back with them.
Some sort of weird cosmic amoeba or whatever got involved, and is causing them to go mentally insane, potentially based on
proximity,
or people they know or whatever. So that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, the rock that makes you crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically the marker from Dead Space.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I don't know Dead Space lore.
We'll get there.
I think I've seen some clips of it, but I don't know it.
Never done a full deep dive.
Right.
And dude, it is
I know that it's terrifying. I know it's interesting. Yeah, that's right.
It's one of the few games I still cannot get through.
Oh, yeah.
On my own.
I get it. I totally understand.
Too spooky. I can't do it.
Too spooky. Am I mistaken that was the third one good or was that bad?
It's widely considered to be the middest.
Okay.
Of the three. 1 and 2 are perfect. It's like Alien and Aliens. That's the best comparison I could come up with, and it's pretty apt as well to call the third one Alien 3 because it's just kind of
man.
Yeah. Didn't quite hit the marks on that one.
Anyways, I digress. I am interested to hear some of the correlations though. So, anyways, in my mind, that's what I thought we were dealing with was some sort of weird. Because
I would have almost preferred that to be the case.
Me too.
Because at least it's something tangible that I maybe can kill in some way.
Yep.
But with this, it's different.
Oh yeah,
it's much more dangerous.
Much more dangerous. So. Just to preserve some time here.
Oh yeah, we're
doing pretty good. We're doing pretty good.
Okay.
I want to gush on kind of the ending part of it, so I don't want to get too caught in the weeds here.
Okay.
Our boy Justin kind of comes to, and there's a brief scare where he ends up
he puts himself in the airlock.
Yeah, and oh man, again another moment of bone chilling suspense, scary. There's a moment where it almost seems as though he's possessed. He still has his eyes. He still seems normal, but he's up and moving around.
Right.
He's in this airlock. And there's a moment where he turns around and Peters is trying to console him.
Right. Talk him down.
Right. And is trying to
open the door.
Right. And there's a control where you have the inside is green, outside is red. Obviously, if you don't have a spacesuit and you open the outside, it depressurizes and you are now in the vacuum of space.
Right.
Which for a human being is not good.
Right. Very dire situation.
Very dire
Don't
situation.
think you're going to be walking away from that one.
No. And so, and the more he's talking, she's like, "What did you see? What do you like?"
Did you see it?
Yeah. And she's like, "Yeah, I saw it." And he's like, and he's the more he's
seen what I've seen, you wouldn't try to stop me.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
what is that?
God.
And if she's like, "What do you talk about?" And he's like, "The darkness inside of me." he starts saying some like, I mean. And now this is where I start to shift a little bit again in my mindset. I'm like, okay, I thought this was like some sort of weird. I thought you tiptoed your way into the portal, and beyond that threshold of the portal, there's some sort of cosmic illness.
Right.
There's some sort of virus you get. You come back, people are slowly starting to get infected. That's what I was thinking.
Right.
But so again, I'm up until this point when they starts talking about the darkness inside of me, and if you've seen the things that I've seen, you wouldn't stop me, and like starting to say some stuff where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's not a virus. Maybe this is like some sort of weird, wacky possession thing,
right?
Or I don't know. And in this, I mean, I can only describe as the most psychologically scary thing in this moment. He goes, it's almost as if you could tell he's almost lucid.
Right.
And he goes to open the inside door to let them back in, so that way they can get him safely back out of the airlock.
Right.
And then in the last moment, he
jukes
moves,
him with the
hits the
outer
outside
door open.
And it takes a few seconds to depressurize that part of the ship. And in that process,
he goes, "Where am I?"
And I'm like, "Oh hell no,
bruh!"
I was like, this is definitely some whack ass possession or some sort of. I was like, that shit is toying with you. I was like, and then at that moment he's lucid, and they're like, and of course, you got Stark over here, and she's like, I'm trying my best
to disengage the override,
but I can't
get the door back open.
But now that the countdown has started for the outside, it won't let me activate the inside door. And so he also made I think whenever he got himself in there, he did some sort of manual override where they couldn't get it. Right. Needless to say, she's been trying to unlock the door until he pressed the outdoor button, and now they're kind of screwed.
They've already notified Captain Miller about this, and he is barreling his way back to
he's
the
on
airlock.
the outside of the Stark trying to fix the exterior with the rest of the boys out there. Yeah. And so he's trying his best, monkey barring his way over there.
Maneuvering.
Yeah. And he's got himself, oh God. It's so terrifying because at this point he has himself positioned to jump. And again, because of inertia and space, I think I can infer, and I know what's going to happen. He has himself positioned to push himself off of off of something to keep moving forward into the airlock after the door opens.
Right.
And all this time, Justin is like, "I don't want to die." And he's saying all these things,
him covering his face and blood coming from his eyes. Dude.
Oh my God, dude! It's so all in his veins. If I'm not mistaken, and I don't mean to get graphic, but I believe in the vacuum of space, your blood begins to boil in that. So his veins are becoming big, and he's bleeding out of
he's
orifices.
Like, "Oh God, it's starting."
Yeah. And he's like, "Bundle yourself up," and he
curl into a ball,
dude.
Get all the air out of your lungs.
So Captain Miller is calming him down over the radio,
taking him
himself to the position. The outside door opens. He pushes himself. He grabs Justin. And of course, he makes it through. And he's like, "Close the door! Close the door!" And they close it back and repressurize. And he's obviously going into shock.
In dire straits, motherfucker might as well be bleeding out.
Oh yeah. So, anyways, and of course it cuts over, and they have him in a stasis tube or whatever. And of course,
he ain't gonna be pretty, but he'll survive.
DJ, what a man.
Yeah.
So anyways, we're at this moment now where, again, we're kind of at this lull where we got some guys on the outside. They're fixing the ship. We're
Cooper and Smithy.
Yeah. We're trying our best. And we start getting some real talk here. where like I think very shortly after all this stuff kind of takes place, Captain Miller confides in DJ, kind of opens up about like the fact that like
the Burning Man I saw in the core was one of my most deep and darkest secrets that I have never told anyone.
Right.
But the ship knew.
Or, and it's like
it knows.
Okay. I don't like that.
Yeah.
And then there's like this. He tells this very touching story about how like he made an executive decision. He made a call that like there was the ship I think was on fire and it was like coming in waves. And he closed the door, leaving his man on the other side to like I think save the rest of them.
Right. But basically just watched him burn to death.
Right. It was like waves of fire just washing over him, and he watched him as he was burned alive, and you could just hear him like scream.
Right.
And I was like, "Ooh, that is traumatizing." Mm-hmm. And the more he talked about it, the more he got kind of like a little bit choked up, and he's like, "I don't." And that's
promised myself I'd never lose another man.
Right.
And then DJ hits him with the. So I was doing a little more research on that distress signal we got.
Yep.
And turns out they didn't say save me, but save yourselves.
Yep.
From hell.
Yep. And this is the part, dude. This is the part.
Oh my god.
That like in acting classes when I used to take them once upon a time, there's like subtext is what they always talk about. I think I talked about it on this show, but there's like it's the emotion. It is the subtext is what. You are not saying. It is like your subtle emotions, what your eyes and what your face, what your body is saying. It's not the words. The subtext is everything else that conveys the emotion.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like you can tell whenever like an actor is really, really well, when like they don't have to say a whole lot, but you're like, I know exactly how they're feeling.
Yeah.
And in this moment, it's like that, where Captain Miller is like, I don't think you believed in all. I don't think you believe in all that, or do you believe in all that?
Right.
They talk about like save yourself from hell, and there's this
Whoever
moment.
Sent that message, sure did.
But before he even said that, there was this long pause, and you can see in his eyes the kind of the fear and almost the tears welling up.
Yeah.
And this moment where he's like, whoever recorded that message did.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh,
okay.
Oh,
all right.
And at that point, it's
that
like,
is my third cue to leave.
Get out. And so it's like, dude, it's stuff like that. That's like you don't got to say much to know that it's like, what I said in that moment was like, if I was that character,
right?
Well, it's like I don't think you believe in all that kind of stuff, and like you have that moment, that pause, and you're like.
Like,
no. What I was saying, what I was going to say is I didn't.
Right.
But I was starting to believe now.
Yeah.
Like that kind of shit where it's like
changed my mind.
Yeah, I know. What's going on right now is making me feel a little bit different. So, anyways, like there's and all the while the doctor is more and more sus.
Yeah.
He goes from being like what I thought was the main character to like, I don't think I can fully understand. You know what it is? What is the guy who's like that in, is it the android in Alien?
Yeah.
Who like starts off nice and pleasant and then very slowly as it progresses, you're like, oh, you're actually like you're our main enemy here. One of them.
Yeah.
You're watching us. You're monitoring us.
Yeah.
Oh, man. That slowly becomes the doctor.
Yeah.
For me.
Man.
I'm not sure when it happens at this point, but like
he starts getting like these flashes of the core in his mind.
Yeah.
And man, after they start, like at one point, Peters and I believe it's Cooper as well, maybe DJ too. No, wait, no, it was Stark as well in there. They're all on the bridge after Peters ran from the fucking medbay after hearing this fucking banging noise. Justin disappeared. That was after Justin disappeared.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And man, he gets up from the chair and is like, open the door. After we see like dents being made in this door.
Yeah.
After it's been closed, Stark goes up behind him and fucking puts him in an arm lock, and I was like, "Stop!
No,
self-control is a necessity here, please." Yep. But yeah, they
it feels like they're getting like picked off by this this kind of possession thing one by one,
right?
But like more and more, the Doctor is feeling like
part of the ship, part of the crew.
Yeah. The Flying Dutchman kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to remember what happens like directly after this, but needless to say, there's a moment where, gosh, I can't remember. I know there's a point in time where the Doctor puts a bomb on the Stark.
Right.
They got the thing patched up. They're making their way. They're working on it or whatever.
Mm. The captain has had his last nerve got on for like the past 5 hours.
Oh yeah,
and he's like, "We're getting the fuck out of here. Fuck this ship."
Yeah.
And the Doctor is like, "No, we can't do that." It's like, bro,
we're done.
Everyone's fucking dying. We need to leave. And then that's when the switch flips.
Yeah.
And the Doctor goes full like possession.
Yeah.
Like I'm like
dude, there and the lighting is so good.
Uh-huh.
There's this super harsh dark shadow.
Right, they're in the main corridor.
Yeah.
Lights start going out.
Yep.
And after
he's like, "We're heading home," and he's like, "I already am home.
Get back to the ship or you're gonna find yourself walking home."
Yep.
And he just fades into the fucking shadows, and after that, he's fucking gone. He ain't coming back.
Ew. Hate it.
So, now we've got him to worry about.
Yep.
And as they're making their way toward the ship, Cooper's finished up the weld. Atmosphere is secure.
Yep.
Smithy makes it back into the ship, starts getting everything prepped. Peters tries to get Justin all good to go. And the good doctor has liberated one of the explosive charges from the main corridor.
Yep.
And just stashed it on the Clark.
Yep.
As a little gift. After which the captain sees it missing and radios Smithy like, "You got to get the fuck off the ship right now."
Yeah.
But man, there's only like a few seconds to spare after Smithy finally finds it, and he's just utterly defeated.
Yep. And it's so sad because
explodes.
I loved that guy, and it was so sad to watch that. I was like, damn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now they're all.
He's the one that had one of the greatest lines in this. Both Captain Miller and Smitty had some of the greatest lines. Mm-hmm. There's this one time where earlier in the movie, like we're talking about, they're starting to talk more about their situations with it. The doctor is pushing them off or whatever. And then there's this beautiful moment where the camera is looking over at Smitty, and he's like, "There's only one thing I know about this ship. It's fucked."
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, it was so
there you
real.
Go.
That's so true. So real. And I was like, damn, that's so good.
I'm with you, man.
But anyways, in this moment, we watch him as literally he's got 4 seconds left and there's nothing he can do. And he just like accepts it. And it's like, oh, damn, dude.
Yeah. Cooper is blown away.
Yeah. He's on the exterior.
On a piece of debris.
Yeah.
So until we see him again, he's fucking gone.
With the worst possible thing in space. Mm-hmm. Flipping out of control.
Right. Just in the void.
Yep. Hell no.
Worst fucking nightmare.
No. Can't.
Yeah.
Won't.
Never.
So now obviously we have our main antagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think we've known before, but now it's like 100%.
Yep.
You are definitely the bad guy here. Mm-hmm. You are our alien on this ship for all intents and purposes.
Mm-hmm. The surrogate through which the ship will exercise its will.
Dude. And then like the kind of the killings that happen after this.
Dude, Peter's death.
She's trying to take the CO2 scrubbers, which like help clean up the air. Right. She's trying to take them out with who was with her? Was that?
I want to say it was DJ.
Yeah. They're trying to take their way out. Take all those and get out. And then she ends up like I mean, the worst decision.
She looks back.
Yep.
Looks behind her.
And sees her son.
Mm-hmm.
Scurry on past.
Right. So, of course, she falls for it and just starts chasing the little bastard all over the damn place.
Yep.
Goes up to, like, I want to say the 5th story of this engineering bay. Sees him just standing at the end of the hallway. Unbeknownst to her, there's a hole.
Yep.
And she just falls.
And in this terrifying moment, there's also like there's like a flash of her own death.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't mean to equate it to this, but like there's a meme right now where like it's like the foreshadowing meme.
Yeah.
Where like yeah. It's like that kind of thing where like he's
subtle foreshadowing.
Yeah. But this was not subtle.
Subtle with a capital B.
Yeah. And it flashes really quick and I was like, is that her own death? And you were like, maybe. And then lo and behold, there she goes and she falls down this chasm and it opens up just beneath where the gravitational sphere thing is. Mm-hmm. So she falls down in that coolant stuff, legs all twisted up and like blood everywhere, and she's just like, like just dead. And you're like, damn, dude.
After which Dr. Weir makes it to the core, sees Peters and is like, oh no, Peter.
Yeah.
I can only assume that's what's left of his mind.
Yeah. That was him
just petering out.
He was relapsing.
Yeah. And after that point, man, he's completely...
This is the switch flip.
Right, he goes off the deep end.
I thought it happened before, but this is that moment where, like, he all of a sudden is, like, he has this... And it's such... it's such a good transition. Mm-hmm. The camera swaps around him, and then and it passes over something, and then as it's passing over, he's in what looks like
his little capsule apartment in that space station.
It's a beautifully lit... open area.
Mm-hmm.
He still looks dirty and dingy a little bit, but like everything else around him looks clean. He looks like he's in a house.
Mm-hmm. And he sees visions of his wife.
Yeah.
Just going through her day to day.
And for a second, I thought that it was like a memory or something. I thought he could interact with it, like it's been interacting with him. Mm-hmm. But no, she doesn't even recognize that he's there.
Yeah. No, it's just straight up flashbacks.
And so he's standing beside her, kind of over her shoulder, kind of creepy. But like she's like putting on like lipstick or something or whatever it is. And he's like...
He starts apologizing, like, I'm sorry profusely, I couldn't be there when you needed me.
Yeah, he's like, I'm sorry that my work got me to... Like it was like saying all these apologies, it was like all this stuff.
Right, and then we see why. She fucking offed
we
herself.
We have to be careful because we can't say the word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We can't say the word, but she was in the bathtub and with a razor blade...
slit her wrists.
Yeah, did the deed.
Mm-hmm.
And... oh my God.
Yeah.
At this time, oh God, it's hard to talk about.
Right.
Because
we see
again,
the ship's manifestation.
Wait. Yeah. Well, but before that, what I'm talking about is in that moment, he's sitting on the side of the tub as she's trying to get in the tub.
Yeah.
And he keeps saying like, please no, please not again.
Mm-hmm.
No. And he's like saying he's like pleading and begging for like, just please no, I can't go through this again.
Yeah.
And then being there right as she, like being in the room while that's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a mess on the floor.
Oh yeah.
Justifiably so.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I was watching that and I was like, this is hard to watch.
Yeah.
Not from like a, not that it's like scary or, it was hard to watch because I'm like, this really feels like a man who is reliving some hard trauma, and I shouldn't be here.
Right.
He should be able to deal with that on his own. And I felt like I'm looking a little too far behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like. And it just made me feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't need to be here. This is such a private moment that I was like, no one should have to go through that. First of all, that's torture.
Oh yeah.
But I was like, for me to be viewing that, I was like, oh, this is another level of like, I don't need to be
now
here.
I just feel bad.
I feel gross in a lot of different ways because of that. So anyways, as you're saying,
right.
There's
the ship manifests her in front of him.
Yeah.
Like eyeless. Like
her eyes closed, yeah.
Right. And she's like, I have so much to show you. It's okay. You're with me now.
And he's like on his knees, kind of like holding her like midsection.
Right, broken.
Like cheek up against her stomach as he's like still broken, crying. Right. And she's like, everything's going to be all right.
Right.
I got you. I have so much to show you. And dude, in a what I can only describe is immeasurable horrors that no man should have to see. Flood his mind of, I mean, these flashes of like dismemberment and maggot-ridden corpses and like all this like tragic stuff,
right?
Like some stuff out of like that I've seen out of Evangelion a couple times, where I'm like, yo, I'm tripping with how like traumatizing this is. And then in this moment, it flashes back to reality, and he is now in this core room,
right? Fingers in his eyes,
clawing out the skin around his face and eyes, and is clawing his eyes out.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh my God.
Yep. Now,
and that was the moment where he was no longer himself.
Oh yeah,
ever. Now he is fully in this other state,
in thrall of the ship.
Right.
Now, one of my other favorite moments is whenever Peters and Stark are on the bridge, and they're able to see the final log of the ship.
And again, you want to talk about
what
horrors.
happened to the crew, dude? My God, like some of the most depraved, like horrific.
You hear like the sounds of like what was the background recording from that distress call,
right? The screams.
But you
see what's happening.
There's like people that are like throwing up all their innards, and like
people are eating each other.
Yeah, and like there's people's like it's I can't even put words together.
Yeah, no, I'm never gonna be sleeping soundly again after I see some shit like
that. I was like, and the crew is like, we're
I
can't. No, we gotta. There ain't no way.
Yeah, for the umpteenth time. We got to get the fuck out of here.
Yep. And again, and in this moment, like, again, there is no Clark ship, the Lewis and Clark, which was like the ship they came there on. It's gone. They're trying their best to figure out what they're going to do next with what little crew they have left. And like, this is where, again, because we've gone full psychopath mode with the Dr. Weir, there's a moment where Captain Miller is like, it's on site.
Yeah. He gets on the radio.
You see Weir, it's on site.
Yeah, DJ's in the med bay talking to the captain, and he's just like, I'm cutting our losses, kill that motherfucker if you see him. And DJ turns around, and he's in there with him. Face all carved up to shit. He's got like superhuman strength now, and he just starts tossing him all over the place like a rag doll. And after he puts him on one of the operating tables, he carves him up, makes him into a modern art piece,
hangs him from the ceiling, disemboweled,
hooks through his back.
Dude, I tell you, oh my God, I saw that and I was like, there ain't no way. Hell no, dude. Again, just to kind of wrap this up, again, we have this moment where, after all that's discovered by Captain Miller, he has like this harpoon type gun, and he's like
a fucking rivet gun.
Yeah, and he's like, all right, buddy.
You don't want to leave?
Nah.
You ain't never going to leave again.
He ends up going in there, finding Stark on the ground, head gashed. And like he ends up like waking up with some smelling salts, and she like ends up getting up, and of course, I don't know how, but apparently
he was already in the bridge with them.
Yeah, and snuck the gun away from him, and he has it on his lap, and he looks all slumped up. Dr. Weir obviously is like slumped over as if he's dead in the captain's chair, swiveling around, and I'm like, don't play coy with me. And there's this moment where like there's this brief monologue, and this is the situation for me. where like he's talking about like we're supposed to be able to cross through space, but
I made the ship to explore space, and it went way further beyond.
Yep. And a different dimension.
Right, and it came back as something else, as a living entity now.
Yep.
So
you're part of the crew now.
Right, you want to find out where it's been? I'm about to show you.
Yep. And he boots up the warp core, and we're like, oh shit. There's this whole crazy battle sequence where for some reason
Stark tries to beat him over the head with a barrel of some sort.
Our boy Cooper is coming back in. He's on the face of the glass. Dr. Weir's absolutely blasting these harpoons out, busts the window
breaks
out.
The window. After which he and almost Stark are sucked into the vacuum of space.
Yeah.
We see Weir go out the window. So,
till
further notice, he's done and over with.
Yeah.
But man, Miller barely saves Stark.
Yeah.
And then they decide to before they make it to the airlock and retrieve Cooper, who miraculously survived that.
Yeah.
And they resign themselves to blowing up the main corridor and separating from the rest of the ship. But not before we have one last run-in with Mr. Weir.
Yep. So, and again, nobly, Captain Miller is like, you guys stay in the back, or you guys stay in the front of the ship. I'm going to go down and arm all these bombs in the back, and I'll get the remote.
Lock the door behind me.
Yeah. And he's like, I'm going to try and get back, but it is what it is. And then, lo and behold, there's oh gosh. Again, terrifyingly, the man who's on fire shows up again and starts like
just casting firebolt.
Yeah. And so he's like, he ends up in a last ditch effort, ends up like jumping through the airlock as it's closing into the room with the core in it. And so far, every time someone's gone to the core room, it's never been good.
Everything bad happens.
Everything bad happens in the core room.
And man, the man on fire confronts Miller.
Yep.
And it's like, you let me burn. And Miller says, you're not him. I saw him fucking die with my own 2 eyes.
Yeah.
And then he morphs, like shapeshifts.
Yep.
And it's fucking Dr. Weir.
Oh, man. And at that point, I'm like...
buck-ass naked,
I was like,
bald, carved up to shit.
That's some bullshit right here.
Right. Motherfucker has made tribal tattoos out of lacerations.
Yeah. And I'm like, at this point, and he's like covered in blood a little bit. He's got nasty, like, bloody teeth and all that shit.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, dude, this is some demonic ass shit right here.
Miller is, like, in the coolant pool under the core.
Yeah. Like,
just struggling to get away from him.
Yeah.
Weird grabs him by the head and shows him the visions of this fucking hell dimension. And he's like, they're not dead.
Yeah.
Because they're all just stuck in that dimension, like suffering until God knows when.
Yeah. and that's the part is like, and this is the part that I thought was funny and terrifying, is that he like, I think he says like, this ship brings you to hell. And of course, Weir is like, oh no.
Hell is just a word.
Yeah.
The reality is much worse.
Chaos.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he said the word. And I was like, you go to the warp.
Straight up.
You're in the chaos dimension. I was joking earlier. Right. I didn't know we were actually going to the friggin' chaos dimension.
Right.
Holy shit.
Rather not be a part of a Slaneshi cult, please.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Too bad. You're locked in, buddy.
Right. But thankfully, Miller is able to make a last-ditch effort to reach for the detonator for the explosives. And Dr. Weir asks, do you see?
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, yes, I see. And he presses the detonator and it blows that shit to Kingdom Come. Above the atmosphere, the back section of the ship that houses the core is just sucked into Neptune's atmosphere, creates a black hole over then and there, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Thankfully, by some miracle, the front section of the ship is able to make it out of there.
Right.
So we got Stark, Justin, and Cooper all safe and sound.
Yeah. And dude, at that point, I start to think, I'm like, what happens now?
Right. Because, I mean, it seems pretty definitive at that point.
I wonder what happened to the rest of that ship. I wonder what happened to Captain Miller.
Who knows,
dude? And then in a crazy turn of events, which I think is so apt and
right,
and interesting.
One last little fake out
because I think it also happened in Alien. I think, right? Or was it Alien 2? It was like a little neither. I thought at the very end there was like a little fake out where they're like, maybe it's still alive or something.
No.
Maybe I'm wrong.
No, Alien and Aliens both end pretty amicably,
Okay.
thankfully. I mean, there's that whole scare and final fight with the Queen after they make it back.
Maybe
aboard.
that's what I'm thinking of.
Probably.
There was one where I thought at the end it kind of looked like a little fake out where they're like, but maybe they're still around. Or anyways, so that's what happens. Is of course it mirrors just like the beginning of this movie a little bit. Our girl Stark ends up getting out of the pod. And of course, the rescue person's like, "You're fine. You're safe. I got you. And
you're with us.
Yeah, you're with us."
And he takes off the mask, and it's fucking Dr. Weir.
Yeah, all cut up in the face and all that bullshit. You're like, "Oh hell no!"
And then she wakes up.
Yeah, and of course she wakes up
having a fucking panic attack.
Yeah, spitting herself out of the actual pod, and everyone's like, "Hey, you're gonna be okay. You're okay. You're okay."
Yeah,
and it's like, "Oh hell no, dude. Hell no. I can't."
And it just ends there.
I can't be haunted for the rest of my life by.
No.
Freaking
Dr. Weir.
Oh, God. I absolutely love this movie. It was so suspenseful.
It's one of the greats.
Was so shocking and I've seen some horror films that have a lot of shock and they try to have a lot of shock value. That try to like gross you out or whatever. And I've read some really great stories that do that.
Yeah.
But man, this is one of the first movies in a while that really hit me like that, where I was so on the edge of my seat. I was so invested in the characters, and I was so surprised when I found out it's like a freaking hell dimension. I love that.
Yeah. It's good, man.
It's great. Well, thank you for sharing that with me.
A bit out of season for a horror flick, but
hey, for one that good, man. They don't have that a season. That's great. Space can be such a scary concept.
Yeah, dude. Easily one of my favorite settings for horror.
Yeah. Well, with all that being said, like I said at the beginning of the episode, you know how to find us. You can just type in The Aftermath on all the major podcasting platforms. Make sure to subscribe to us where you can, so that way you can be up to date on all of our episodes, like this episode and the different applications that allow you to do that kind of stuff.
So choose.
Or 5-star rating. You know how all of the different stuff. Just get us out there. Let us know how much you enjoy this show, because I know there are people out there that do. We enjoy doing this show. It's a lot of fun, and even though this one was scary, and I feel like I had a hard time formulating my words because of how in dread I am at the moment right now. Yeah. We appreciate you. We love you guys. And until next week,
see you.
Bye-bye.